There has been a lot of conversation around Beyonce's likability since the release of her new hair brand, Sacred. Some people wanted her business to fail, others questioned her motives, and many ran with the Beyonce doesn't even talk to us, so I purchase her stuff. And to be honest, the conversation about her likability has been going around for a long time now. Beyonce has always been a polarizing figure without doing much because we can all agree that although Beyonce stays to herself and is rarely in the tabloids, she still isn't spared from much hate. Every time I ask someone why they don't like Beyonce, they'll tell me something along the lines of, well, she thinks she's all that, she's arrogant, people worship her, she has no personality, or she's not really enough for me, she's like a robot. These seem to be assumptions and perhaps projections, and I'll explain by breaking down a psychological phenomenon called the Pratfall Effect, using Beyonce and overall celebrity culture as a case study. So according to social psychology, the Pratfall effect is the tendency for the likability of an individual to change after they make a mistake, and it also depends on their perceived level of competence. So in other words, highly competent individuals are more likable when they make a mistake, while below average or moderately competent individuals tend to be less likable after making the same mistakes. I know, totally unfair and low-key sinister. So what does that have to do with Beyonce, you may ask? Well, Beyonce today is considered to be one of the biggest superstars in the world. She has won over 30 Grammys, she sold over 200 million records worldwide, and to top it all, she is both an amazing singer and performer who is very much respected among her peers. Beyonce is often called the celebrity of the celebrities, and there are actual social media accounts dedicated to her that are called Celebs Love Beyonce, where encounters with celebrities and praises for her by other celebs are posted. Beyonce is rarely in the tabloids, she doesn't confirm or disconfirm rumors about her, and if she wants to address something, she usually does it in her music. But other than that, Beyonce is commonly seen as this almost perfect celebrity who doesn't share her life with the public, so she basically stays to herself a lot. So because we don't see much of her, people claim that it's hard to relate to her and that every time they see her, she seems to be too put together, arrogant, or even robotic. It is important to note that part of likability is relatability. And the fact that people don't find Beyonce relatable negatively impacts her appeal. Why? Because Beyonce is already considered to be highly competent and way above average because of her talent, her accomplishments, and she also projects an image of herself that is very much flawless, and it doesn't help that many people, celebrity or not, put her on a pedestal as well. So what I'm trying to get at here is that the more perfect, aka unrelatable, somebody comes across, the less likable they will be all across the board. So for people to like Beyonce, I feel like she'd have to be more relatable, and that means what? Basically having more access to her. So in a weird way, if you think about it, it's like people need to see her act in the comfort of her own home to finally humanize her and say, oh, she's just like the rest of us. So because people don't see enough of her, it is easier to other her, quote unquote, and dissociate her from the rest of people. So if you notice, the rare times that we hear Beyonce being involved in any kind of scandal, part of the public not only expresses some kind of joy about it, but they can even go as far as adding fuel to the fire or even saying things like, oh my god, I knew she was fake. See, there you go. So it's like there is this need to paint an even uglier picture of her to finally kick her off her pedestal and negatively affect her image or the perception others have of her. I have met many people in real life who genuinely hate the fact that there are people in this world who love and support Beyonce down. It was really giving a classic case of, oh, like I hate this individual because they're so loved. So I believe that if Beyonce was showing us more of her personality on social media, if she was maybe perhaps openly expressing herself through an IG live or cracking jokes or making fun of herself or just making a fool of herself, she'd be more loved or at the very least more appreciated. Why? Because I feel like it makes most people feel good about themselves when other people openly display their flaws, quirks, shortcomings, or even misfortunes. It's sad, but it is true. And I feel like celebrities fall victim to this the most because they are already a tiny part of the population and they're usually centered in a very particular way. They're not basically your average Joe or Joanne, and it's because they do something that's special or they're exclusive in the way they perform or the way they display their talent. They're just basically above average and quote unquote special. And people generally have a really hard time with different or anything or anyone who's too different from them. They don't like the idea of people being more special and more talented or even more attractive because it just does not make them feel good about themselves. So, because it rubs most people the wrong way, I feel like that's exactly why no celebrity has experienced consistent love and support all throughout their career. And celebrities are already othered just by being celebrities, and before they reach the peak of their career, I feel like that's usually when they get the most love and support. But past a certain point, the public feels the need to undermine, tear apart, or even kick them off their pedestal. So, what does the Pratfall Effect teaches us? I think it teaches us that people, and by people I'm talking about your average human being, will only love and support you if you dim your light, display your insecurities, and come across as the underdog. So if people think that they're above you somehow, I feel like it seems like it becomes easier for them to show you love and support. But if you come across as highly competent or way above average in some way, then the inclination for nitpicking and tearing you apart becomes strong. I absolutely loved learning about the Pratfall Effect because it just teaches us so much about celebrity culture, interpersonal power struggles, insecurities, and overall psychology. And the big takeaway here is that in celebrity culture, being great or exceptional needs to be paired with obvious weaknesses or a certain level of transparency for people to like you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little essay and I hope you guys learned something. And I really hope that we become more mindful of the pratfall effect and see how it affects our perception of individuals and how we treat each other overall.